Hello, my name is Megan Sanders and I'm a student in the CE 510 course at the University of West Alabama, and this is my presentation of my signature project Stage 2, the effects of competition on phonics instruction. My research proposal focuses on the early childhood literacy assessment that kindergarten teachers are required to conduct, which is the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills, also referred to as DIBELS Next, which is the current DIBELS assessment used. DIBELS provides teachers with a tool to measure students' ability to fluently read and identify sounds in nonsense words, which this portion of the assessment is referred to as the Nonsense Word Fluency portion, also referred to as NWF throughout the remainder of the presentation. The NWF assessment is designed to determine students' understanding of the alphabetic principle and phonemic awareness. So the statement of the research problem for this study is that the problem this study will address is the poor student scores on the DIBELS assessment. Through this study, the researcher strives to answer the research question, how does the incorporation of competition into phonics instruction affect DIBELS scores? The issue was identified after reviewing the beginning and middle of the year DIBELS data collected from 18 kindergarten teachers. 9 students scored benchmark or above on the nonsense word fluency portion, while the other 9 students scored below benchmark and required intervention. DIBELS data is recorded in each child's test booklet and reviewed regularly in grade level meetings to determine the most effective means for intervention. The intent of this study is to investigate the impact of competition integrated with phonics instruction on kindergarten students' DIBELS assessment scores. The data presented is taken from middle of the year DIBELS assessment at a rural public school in a southeastern state. And this data specifically focuses on the NWF results, as is noted. After the assessments were administered, the data showed that 2 students were considered to be advanced, 7 students met the benchmark, while 5 students still needed strategic support, and 4 students needed intensive support to be where they should be at this time of year. The figure also provides a visual of 50% of the class meeting or exceeding the kindergarten benchmark, while the other 50% needed extra support in order to meet the benchmark. This data makes it apparent that this kindergarten classroom needs extra support in phonics instruction in order to ensure that their students are meeting the appropriate benchmarks for literacy. It is evident from this presented data that the students need additional support in order to further develop their literacy skills, and that the inclusion of motivating and engaging activities will assist these students in developing phonemic awareness and their understanding of the alphabetic principle. This research proposal will evaluate the impact of incorporating competitive games in phonics instruction on the DIBELS assessment scores of these kindergarten students. And by comparing the previous DIBELS scores to the DIBELS scores following the implementation of competitive games, the study will determine the effectiveness of utilizing competition within phonics instruction in order to improve these student scores. On this slide, I have listed some of the research-based assertions that I found while backing up my study and determining my proposal. So researchers have found that through the incorporation of activities that require students to blend and segment phonemes, students are more able to efficiently develop reading and spelling skills. By actively participating in the games and activities along with students, instructors are further able to offer their support and provide focused teaching content throughout the activity. According to Stanley, Petcher, and Katz, a student's ability to decode nonsense words in kindergarten strongly correlates to the student's development of reading comprehension skills in the 10th grade. And through the examination of these educational problems by reviewing literature and utilizing the quantitative data, this study is going to analyze the effect of competition in phonics instruction on the DIBELS scores. Furthermore, the inclusion of games or play in phonics instruction has been found through researchers to improve students' acquisition of these skills, and that receiving instruction combined with games, requiring the blending and segmentation of phonemes, benefits by developing a deeper understanding of letter-sound relationships among children. Researchers have also suggested that competitive activities, specifically cards or board games, are more likely to engage the students in this literacy skill development. The sampling method used, we will be sampling the population of kindergarten students attending the selected rural public school located in the southeastern state, and the public school contains 2 kindergarten classrooms with 36 students, 18 in each classroom. The sampling technique will be convenience sampling due to the researcher collecting data from kindergarten students attending the same public school within the same two kindergarten classrooms. The instrument that will be used during the study will be the nonsense word fluency portion of the DIBELS Next assessment. The students will decode nonsense words by utilizing their understanding of the alphabetic principle and phonemic awareness. This standardized assessment will be conducted by the normal classroom teachers in order to gain a more accurate depiction of the students' literacy skills. Through collaborative efforts, the typical kindergarten teachers, as stated before, will conduct the assessment and the researchers will support them due to that they may not reflect their true understanding if an unfamiliar researcher were to test them as opposed to their typical teacher. The researchers will also work alongside the school administrators in order to complete their research study in the most effective manner possible. And through this collaboration, the researchers will provide the students with a safe and familiar environment throughout the whole research progress. The plan for data collection is to gather data to determine the impact of incorporating the competitive games into phonics instruction, and the inclusion of competition and activities will increase the student motivation. This project is seeking to determine the impact on the DIBELS assessment scores, and researchers will first begin by obtaining consent from the school administrators to access student assessment data, followed by obtaining permission from parents and guardians to work with these students on competitive phonics games. This data will then be collected from the DIBELS assessment, which calculates how many letter-sound relationships are currently identified. Students' scores will then be collected prior to the implementation of competitive games with phonics instruction, and then again following 30 days of including these competitive games. The assessment scores are then going to be prepared with the pre-scores and post-scores, as well as compared between groups of who received the competition-infused instruction and the other half of students that did not receive the competition-infused instruction. The main limitations of this study are the relatively small population and the inability to predict student involvement. Two variables that may affect the results of this study are student attendance and student participation. If the student doesn't attend school on a regular basis, then they cannot be expected to make as much progress as students who attend school daily. Also, students refusing to participate in the competitive aspects of phonics instruction may produce scores that do not reflect the potential gains in literacy they could have made if they had participated throughout the study. Students that have limited attendance or participation in this study will have their test scores further reviewed and compared to those with regular attendance and participation in order to eliminate any invalid responses. In terms of ethical considerations, the students will complete the DIBELS Next assessment conducted by classroom teachers in order to reduce any emotional stress or other external factors that may influence their test-taking abilities. The students will experience no harm mentally or physically as the data is recorded in the typical manner. Student names will be held confidential throughout the entire study and after, and they will only be referred to as student 1, 2, and so on. And this data that is obtained will be utilized by the school district administrators only and the teachers in order to determine the best method of teaching phonics instruction and how to improve DIBELS test scores. The hopeful outcome of the study is that students' DIBELS nonsense word fluency scores will increase after participating in the competition-based phonics instruction. The engaging and motivating phonics instruction activities will hopefully improve phonemic awareness and their understanding of the alphabetic principle. Through competitive games combined with the normal phonics instruction, teachers will more effectively provide students with opportunities to develop these literacy skills. And at the end of this study, we will see student achievement growth noted in the increase of students meeting a minimum of benchmark on the nonsense word fluency portion of the DIBELS Next assessment. Through my reflection of the research proposal and hopeful outcome, changes I would make would be to use a larger sample size across multiple schools to get a better picture overall and to step out from convenient sampling, and also to collect data from across the entire school year to get a better picture of their progress overall instead of just a pre and post data collection. Additional research that could be conducted to assist this proposal would be to find which games have been determined to be the most effective when teaching phonics specifically in order to include those to make the most gains throughout the year. Additionally, if there would be a different part of the DIBELS Next assessment other than the nonsense word fluency portion to place focus on to see if there is an increase in scores in those areas, as the games may affect that more so than the nonsense word fluency portion of the test. That concludes my presentation. The last two slides include my references to cite any researchers or information that I gathered while completing a literature review to support my research proposal.